Hey folks, Fernando doing a video for More Survivalists, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you maybe the most important piece of advice for anyone considering relocating, becoming an expat, moving to another country. This is a delicate topic for a lot of people that feel strongly about not moving abroad, staying in their own country, especially folks in the United States. There's no country like US, I'm never going to be leaving. Well, you have to be very respectful of other people's opinions. Some people have a very different idea of what they want. Their reality may be different from yours. Maybe they indeed would be better off somewhere else because of their own specific situation. And I've been getting a lot of emails recently regarding this, and I've seen some discussions in the forums about people that had relocated. I don't know, sometimes it seems that everything happens at the same time. At the same time you're reading about this, you start getting messages of people considering doing it or that have already done it and are looking at moving to other places. Now, by far, the most important piece of advice is do not assume that a third world country will offer the same as a developed one. This is something that I've seen time and again. It is by far the most common mistake. I wrote a book about this, which is this one, my second book, Bugging Out and Relocating. Second part of the book is specifically about that, about relocating. And I did a lot of research. I read a lot in preparation for the book, so as to put enough information, and I went through it myself when I left Argentina. A lot of the stuff that I wrote about, I actually put to practice, and it actually worked very well for me. So that's where this advice is coming from. Very common. You pick up a magazine, you see a beautiful beach and whatever that may be, or a beautiful photograph, and oh, look at the exchange rate. This place is super cheap. You know, I even feel that I have this feeling that sometimes people see stuff on TV. For example, that movie Euro Trip, which is fantastic, very funny movie about a road trip through Europe. Very, I laughed my ass off with that movie. Now, in one of the scenes in that movie, they end up in some Eastern Europe country with just 10 cents, 10 US cents. And they think they're completely broke, but when they hear about the exchange rate, they realize that they're rich in whatever place they are, and they start eating lobsters and staying in 5-star hotels and everything super fancy because they have 10 cents. And that's not how exchange rates work. But people are confused. They think that, okay, it's super cheap to live in South America, in Central America, in Thailand, or wherever. In third world countries, or whatever other politically correct term you want to use, in developing countries, third world countries, the thing is this: the exchange rate does not translate into same quality of life. Even if it's cheap in paper to live there, if you want to sustain the same level, the same standard of living that you used to enjoy in the United States or other developed country that you may be coming from, it is going to be costing a lot more. Those prices, those super cheap prices, are for locals. When you see the average income in these places being $500, doesn't mean that you're going to be living as middle-class American in Argentina for $500. It's actually going to be more expensive to live like a middle-class American in a place like Argentina or anywhere in South America or Central America. It's going to be more expensive because many of the things you take for granted cost a lot more money there. So the first thing you realize is, sure, rent for $100 a month, 500, yes. In a crap hole, in a terrible place, in a place that's downright dangerous. If you want to live in a safe place, maybe it's going to be a gated community, because that's the reality of many third world countries. It's going to be a lot more expensive than you're planning. It's going to be probably more expensive than it is in the United States. So you're going to be spending more money. And a nice house in a decent neighborhood in Argentina or that sort of thing, $200,000, yes, that's very realistic. That's very much what you're looking at, or more. Of course, more is always a possibility. But it's not going to be nearly as cheap as you think it is. Some people are a little bit more comfortable bending that a little bit and getting themselves in places that are a lot or quite a bit more dangerous than what they're used to. And it's not just that. Things like, buying a new cell phone is going to be costing 2-3 times as much. Buying new clothes from any decent brand that you may know of, those are very expensive. It's going to be costing 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much as it would buying it in the United States. Maybe a pair of jeans from Levi jeans that you may end up buying for a great sale that you come across, or something like that that's super cheap. You find it for 30-40 bucks, let's say. It's going to be costing $100 in a place like Argentina or most Latin American countries. Nice shoes, nice sneakers. You want Nikes? Sure, if you look around, you may be finding Nikes for $30 in the United States, $30-40 maybe, give or take. Some of the cheaper models. Now, there's no cheaper models in South America. Nothing is cheap in South America. Anything that says Nike in South America is going to be costing 2 times, 3 times as much as it costs in the United States. That's simply a fact of life, and this translates to everything. Even in food. Sure, there's great local food to be had in restaurants and that sort of thing. That's going to be cheaper. But the moment you go to a supermarket, a store, the cheaper stuff is of quite poor quality in general. You have to be careful regarding that. Driving a car is going to be costing 2-3 times as more. Gas is going to be more expensive. All those things are what people don't take into account, and they end up putting themselves in these positions where a year later they realize their mistake and they go back because of this. So my advice is look at a country that is, on one hand, it's affordable and goes for what you're looking for, but you're not compromising in terms of going to a third world country. In my opinion, as much as you can avoid that, everyone's story is different. But my advice is avoid developing countries, third world countries, because especially if you come from the first world, from developed countries, you're going to be missing lots of those things that you're taking for granted. Guys, it's going to be all for now. Remember to subscribe to the channel and check the stuff if you're interested in some of my books covering some of these topics on Earth. See you on our next video. Have an awesome day.